So, Basics IV practice, another quiz Friday. For all of those of you who just can't seem to get things right, you get another chance. All right, number one is factor completely. And, the odds of the kids watching this video that need to are slim to none, but whatever. I notice 36 and 81 have a common factor of 9. And you need to notice that too. You should also notice this. There's the problem if you don't. 9 times 4x to the second, because 9 times 4 is 36, minus 9, because 9 times 9 is negative 81. Now, I memorized a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b times a plus b. If you think about what it takes to square to become 4x squared, a is 2x, because 2x times 2x is 4x to the second. B is 3 because, and I've used this wording with y'all before, 3 times 3 is 9. So we already have this 9 out front that leads. It's going to stick around. It's not dropped. And if A is 2x and B is 3, the complete factorization is 9 times 2x minus 3 times 2x plus 3 because I memorized patterns. So that's how you do number one. That instruction is so clear that even a caveman could do it. It's so obvious. Even a caveman could do it. So, what kind of pro-magnum thing are you, boys and girls? Cro-Magnum. I think it's Cro-Magnum. Anyways, all right, number two, solve x to the second plus 44 is 0. And I'm going to take this 44. I'm going to do what we always do. We have no middle term of x. I'm just going to shift it to the right-hand side. And I'll switch over to pencil now because I can't type a square root symbol. But the opposite of squaring has always been square rooting. So x is plus or minus the square root of negative 44. I actually give half credit if you can get that far. Shame on you if you can't take it farther, but I give you half credit for that. So now I think the root of negative 44 is the imaginary root of 4 times 11. It is imaginary. If you've been tripping it every day, I stands for imaginary. All right, the root of 4 is 2, so 2i root 11. X equals plus or minus 2i root 11. And moving forward with my life, there's two of them. It's only 6:38 if you look at the clock, but I ain't got time to spend all day on this, so just hit the pause button if you're lost. Figure it out. Do something. And if you're wondering if I'm talking to you, I am talking to you. I got about 15 names in my head right now. Factor 18x squared plus 24x minus 10. And what I notice is all terms are even. I notice everything is even. So I can pull a 2 from everything. And this will shrink the numbers. That'll make it easier. There's 3 ways to make an 18. 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 1 and 18. I feel like that's all of them. There's only 2 ways to make a 9. 3 and 3, which is probably what I'm going to use, or 1 and 9. Now what I am doing is I am literally guessing and checking. Takes one of the ways I can make a 9x squared is a 3x and a 3x. The only way to make a 5 is 1 and 5 versus 2 techniques here. So let's try a 1, let's try a 5, and the outside would make a 15, don't forget the x, and the inside would make a 3. And I know that 15x minus 3x is 12x, and this is something that's killing most of y'all. You can't do addition or subtraction. You just can't do it. You're not good at it, which is why algebra 2 stinks. Push buttons. Plain and simple, push buttons. I'd have to have a positive 15 and a negative 3x. So there is the complete factorization, and it was guessed and it was checked. Something we've been doing the last couple of days is number 4. It is a logarithm. Do remember that the log of something has an understood 10. So I'm going to put that little 10 there. It's there. I have an understood base, and you should say base of 10. Now, I'm thinking about this thing, which I've beat to death. Log is bay. It is equivalent to a base with an exponent equal to its answer. Should say result or something like that, whatever. I'm going to do the baby steps first. 2 log base 10 of x is 6. No, 8 minus 2, 6. And then I'm going to divide this 2 out. Log base 10 of x is 3. And the number of juniors who don't know what 10 cubed is beyond me, but whatever. Oh, and it wasn't an x. Four x, right? Because it was a 4x here. Got ahead of myself. I have a base, I have an answer, and I have an exponent. This is the easiest logarithm I could give you. The base is 10. She's going to be cubed, and she'll equal 4x. 10 cubed has been 1,000. Here's that undo button. I don't see it. 10 cubed is 10 times 10 times 10, for those of you who don't know. 1,000 is 4x, so I divide by 4, and x is going to be 250. Ta-da! Not that hard. It's really not. It's really not. All right, simplify. X squared plus x minus 6 over x squared plus 7x plus 12. This is a factoring problem. That's what this is. This is a factoring problem. So I'm going to factor the top. It's x plus 3 and x minus 2 because I'm guessing and checking. X squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6. See how it works out? 3x minus 2x is x. Again, I'm guessing and checking. I'm just doing it in my head. The bottom is going to factor as x plus 3 times x plus 4. And again, figure that out. It's called guess and check. Anyways, what I can do is I can cancel out common factors. Both these have an x plus 3. So this leaves me with x minus 2 sitting pretty over x plus 4. Ta-da! It's not rocket science. Let's see here. What are we on? 6? 6 I can type. Notice it says using the sum of 2 cubes pattern. Sum of 2 cubes says a cubed plus b cubed is equal to a plus b times b. Sorry, I don't know why I said b there. A squared minus ab plus b squared. You know, a lot of kids would say, I don't understand. I don't understand. Because you don't memorize. You didn't memorize what 2 plus 3 was. That's why you can't add. Plain and simple. You got to memorize, children. Got to memorize. Anyways, if I'm looking at this here, I have a 23 that's cubed. So A has to be 23. And I have a 7 cubed, so B is 7. And then I just plug it in. 23 plus 7 This first thing would become whatever 23 squared is, and I'm not asking you to do that. Minus because there's a minus, it would be 23 times 7 because A is 23 and B is 7. And the last term would be 7 to the second. That's the result. Don't overthink it. That's the result. 7, FOIL and show your work. So it's better known as the double distributive property. Let's see, I'll do this down here so I have some writing room. I'm going to do 4 times 3 plus 4 times negative 7i plus, and pay attention where my cursor is going, 3i times 3 plus 3i times a negative 7i. You know, pick it out. I mean, this is something that we're also claiming we don't understand, but yet I've never seen you try to do it. I think what most people do is, and I'll tell you from personal experience, there are a lot of things I don't understand. Until I sit down and do it. Now, this is from personal experience. There is nothing I can't do so long as I try. I have not ever encountered a problem that I could not figure out. I had to sit down and do it. Now, maybe I'm special, maybe I'm unique, but I believe if that's true for me, it's true for you. There are a lot of things in this world that I don't understand. If I have a breakdown in harvest, I haven't ever built a combine. I don't know what the engineer was thinking when they did certain things, so I have to reverse engineer what they're doing. But I figure it out because I sat there and I tried. So that's what y'all need to get over. Get over this fact. You don't know everything. You're just angry teenagers that think you know everything. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28, and there's a I there. 3i times 3 is 9i. And a 3i times a negative 7i is negative 21i to the second power. Now, I also have memorized that I squared is negative 1. I'm going to go ahead and put some like things together. There's this stuff in the middle here. That's going to be 12 minus 19i. And since I squared is negative 1, I'm thinking about replacing with a negative 1, and that makes that last piece a positive 21. And now I can just keep putting stuff together. 12 and 21 makes 33, minus 19i, and in order doesn't matter. It's supposed to be a plus or minus bi. So 33 minus 19i, and everything's said and done. All right, number 8, we've got the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula goes x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I pick out my 3 pieces. A is the guy in front of x squared, it's 4. B is the guy in front of x, it's negative 10. And C is the last thing you see, it's 5. I don't understand your issues with quadratic formula. You can sit there and play, I don't understand. It's an Algebra 1 skill. It's taught in Algebra 1, man. Anyways, opposite of a negative 10 is a positive 10, plus or minus the square root. If you're going to square something, you drop the negativity, minus because there's a minus. A is 4, and C is 5. And it's all sitting over twice A, and A again was 4. Most of you will struggle with basic computations, but inside this radical is a 10 squared, which is 100, minus 16 times 5. 16 times 5 is what, 80? Is a 20. All over 8. By the way, nothing saying you can't Just type this in and push buttons. Nothing saying that. You can go to your calculator. You can type 10 squared minus 4 times 4 times 5. And you can push buttons. Root 20 is the root of 4 times 5, which is 2 root 5. I'm going to break these things apart right now. I have 10 over 8, which I'll reduce, plus or minus. This became 2 root 5, also over 8. 10 over 8 becomes 5 quarters. They're both even. And 2 over 8 becomes a quarter because they're both even. I don't know how much more instruction you need. That was entirely too much, to be quite honest with you. Moving on, use synthetic division to determine the quotient and remainder of this thing. And this one has no placeholders. Look at that. There's no need for a placeholder. Let's focus on this right here. If x plus 3 is an even divisor, it's probably not, then x plus 3 is 0, which means that x is negative 3. Put a negative 3 there. That was a horrible looking negative 3. Notice the sign change from positive to negative. There's always a sign change. Coefficients are 2, 3, negative 3, negative 5, negative 4. And our acronym is drop, multiply, and add. We drop this 2 all the way down. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Negative 3 and 9 makes 6. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. You know, you're probably listening to me this on mute. Push the buttons. Negative 5 minus 18 is negative 23. Negative 3 times negative 3 is negative 69. Sorry, positive 69. And negative 4 plus 69 is 65. Let me double check my work. I'm good with that. This is my remainder. This is my constant. This is my x. This is my x squared. And this would be an x cubed. So, here's what I have. I have 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 6x minus 23. The remainder is positive, so plus 65 pieces of that guy right there. X plus 3. There you go. Determine the average rate of change for f of x is negative 3 times 1/2 of the x minus 2 plus 3 over this interval. And, you know, the big problem is you won't memorize. Average rate of change has the same formula it's had all year. F of b minus f of a over b minus a. Notice it talks about using a storage feature and showing enough work. F of b comes when you plug in a 2. Now, if I don't know what that is, and a lot of you don't, I'm going to go to a calculator. CMU is what I want. And I'm just going to push some buttons. What I have here, I had negative 3 half to the x minus 2 plus 3. And I'm plugging in a 2. 2 stored to x. The equation was negative 3 parentheses 1 over 2. If I'm plugging in a 2, this ought to be 0 when everything's said and done. But whatever. X minus 2 plus a 3. There you go. I got back a 0. Now I'm going to find f of a. I find f of a by plugging in a negative 3. So negative 3 times 1/2 to the negative 3 minus 2 plus 3. And this one will probably be ugly. Negative 3 stored to x. Scroll up a couple times. enter, enter. Oh, it's negative 93. I was expecting something ugly. Negative 93. And I plug in. F of B was 0. 0 minus a negative 93, because there's a minus. That was negative. Over 2 minus a negative 3. And, by all means, push buttons if you got to push buttons. But the top's going to become 93. The bottom's going to become 5, because taking away negative is addition. A lot of juniors don't know what taking away negative is. I don't know how you got promoted this far. Somebody did you a disservice. You should have been held back a couple times. Maybe you'd understand things by now. 11, consider the sequence 2, negative 8, negative 18. Write a rule for the sequence. By the way, this would be like ace of 1, ace of 2, ace of 3. The difference is going to be ace of 2 minus ace of 1, which is negative 8 minus 2, which is negative 10 if you can't just look at the numbers. Writing a rule for the sequence, you're going to use the formula that the nth term is the first term plus n minus 1 times the difference. So the first term is 2. When I have n minus 1, the difference is negative 10. And I'm going to distribute that negative 10 in. It's through multiplication. It becomes 2 minus 10n plus 10. Notice that? Minus 10n plus 10, negative times negative. And full result is we have negative 10n plus 12. Now, by the way, you should check this. If you want to find the second term, you plug a 2 in. And that would give you negative 20 plus 2. Which is weird. What's wrong with this? Oh, that's a 12. Almost had a typo there. But it works. Negative 20 plus 12 is negative 8. By the way, that's also how you cheat. I don't know if the ones who need to know that won't watch the video, so whatever. Find the sum of the thirst, whatever the thirst is. You see that? The thirst. Typo there, I should say third. But the thirst through the 12th term. All right, so I happen to know another little formula because I memorized it. The sum of n terms is n over 2 times the first plus the last. And the first term is actually the third term. So third plus the 12th for this example. And if I want the third term, I plug in a 3. Now, we had a little formula which I already erased. It said that the nth term is negative 10n plus 12. So I need the third term, called ace of 3. This is going to be negative 30 plus 12, which is negative 18. Again, you can always push buttons if you don't have any clue where that number came from. I also need the 12th term by plugging in 12, and the formula was negative 10n plus 12. That's negative 120 plus 12, which is negative 108. So here we have a negative 18 plus a negative 108. N is always high minus low plus 1, so 12 minus 3, add 1 back is 10. So 10 over 2. Sum of 10 things is 10 over 2. And if you don't know how to do this in your head, then by all means push a button. Like if you don't know 10 over 2 is 5, then you figure that out. There's a 5. And what was inside those parentheses there? A negative 18 plus a negative 108. Notice I'm using the right keys. I didn't try to do everything at once. I didn't do everything at once because y'all would screw it up. And it's negative 630. That's what she is. So, getting there. Oh, the easiest thing on the quiz. This is legit the easiest problem on the quiz. Now you only care about things equal to 0. So we have f of negative 1 equals 0. This is function notation. It says when x equals negative 1, comma, the result is 0, which means x plus 1 is a factor. How did I come up with x plus 1? I did a simple concept called shift left. That's all I did. What else do I notice? I notice that f of 2 is a 0, which says when x equals 2, the result is 0. So x minus 2 is a factor. And I also see that f of 3 is 0, which by now you should be able to convert to a factor. The factor is x minus 3. Easiest question on the quiz. And then 13, which y'all need to figure out. Use the graph below to answer parts 1 through 5. 2 points apiece. The real zeros in our multiplicity, we have 3 zeros. Here's one, x equals 0. Another one at x equals 3 and x equals 4. X equals 0, and if I had a pencil here, I would literally be drawing through the x-axis or crossing the x-axis, so the multiplicity is 1. I have one at 3, that's right here, and it's also passing through because it all is above and below. It has a multiplicity of 1. And then the last one here is a 4, and 4 is what we call a touch because we hit it, we never cross it, we go back down. So x equals 4 has a multiplicity of 2. Degree and the sign of the polynomial based on n behavior. And I've talked about how you can do this if you can't memorize, but you can always graph. I know that this is a negative x to the even. I know it is. I can literally, if I don't know on quiz day, and I happen to have a TI-84 in front of me, I can say negative x to the 8th power. Something even. Zoom 6. And I will notice that it starts low and it ends low. Well, I also just wasted 30 seconds of our time. So the turning point theorem says we are at least x to the TP plus 1. So how many turning points do we have? We have one up here. It's kind of covered up by that ordered pair. We have one there and one there. We have 3. So I'm going to be x to the 3 plus 1, which is x to the 4th. All right, let me clear all this so I can worry about the next thing. Actually, I don't need to. So I'm looking up at part 1, and I see x equals 0. If I just do my slide left, I get x minus 0, still equal to 0. So in other words, literally, I'm just x. Is x minus 0 still x? The multiplicity is 1, so x to the 1st power is my exponent, is my factor. So a known factor would be x because 1s are understood. I have x equals 3. Oh, let me put a little note here because multiplicity is 1. I slide left, and I get x minus 3. Now, that also has a multiplicity of 1. So the factor is x minus 3 to the understood first power. And I'm not going to write that. Last one I have is I have x equals 4. And again, I slide left. Becomes x minus 4. It has multiplicity equal to 2, so the factor is x minus 4 squared. Need parentheses, don't I have gone nice and slow on this. So for all the ones who complain that I don't provide enough instruction, I got $100 says you don't watch this video. Just saying. I've gone nice and slow. Problem is you. All right. I don't know why I have two labeled points here. Oh yeah, this point is obviously trash. Like there is no way that this is 232. It's just where I forgot to edit something out. Maybe I'll fix that before I make copies. This is the point I want. So the factored form is going to be written in the form of y equals a times x minus 3 times x minus 4 to the second. And I've got this point right here that gives me an x and a y. Negative 2.5 equals a times x, and x is 5. 5 times 5 minus 3 times 5 minus 4 to the second. I have negative 2.5 equals, that'd be a 2, that'd be a 1, 10a. And I get that a is negative 1/4. Because I know how to do some division. And that goes there. And I'm done. I've got one more. I'm not going to spend any time on the bonuses because I have a lot to do yet this morning. Simplify this one. 2/18, e to the negative second over e to the seventh, x to the negative 8 over x to the negative fifth. Now 2/18 is 1/9. So my final answer is going to have a 1, which will probably be understood, and a 9. I also have e to the negative second over e to the seventh, which most kids will say, okay, that's 1/e to the seventh times e squared. And they'll add the exponents. That'll give you an e to the ninth down low. The reason we're able to do this is because we know that x to the negative n is 1/x to the positive n. And I have this one. I have x to the negative 8 over x to the negative 5. And what most kids will do is they'll move exponents around so they're positive. X to the 5th over x to the 8th. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, let's do a little subtraction. Probably the longest way of doing it, but it's what most people tend to do. And anyways, there you go. You actually do need that 1. Yeah, there's a placeholder so you can see it. And that's it. And that's all I'm doing on this. Probably not going to provide a worked out key to this one because obviously you need instruction. I grade your stuff.